For those of us who love the idea of a reading journal but don't have the time, energy, or inclination to DIY one, a pre-printed reading journal is a great option, but which one is right for you? Maybe it's this one, the all booked up, disc-bound book lover's journal from Rongrong. Hi, I'm Erin, and despite being a keen reading journal DIYer, I review pre-printed reading journals so you can find the one that's the right fit for you. Let's take an in-depth flip through of Rongrong's all booked up reading journal. She has this journal available in a few different aesthetics, but the one I'm sharing today is the dark academia themed version. Once we've walked through it, I'm going to dive in with some of my own reading history so we can really put it to the test. Just in case you aren't familiar with this brand, Rongrong DeVoe is a fashion illustrator turned stationery business owner based out of Houston, Texas. She's probably best known for her diverse artworks representing people from all sorts of walks of life, but her stationery sets are also filled with more general ephemera of objects too, so don't let that put you off if you're not into people stickers like me. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that I am an affiliate with Rongrong, so if you use my link in the description to make a purchase, I will make a small commission. Likewise, if you use my discount code Erin at checkout, you'll save 10% and I'll get a small commission for sending you their way. Rongrong has kindly gifted me the journal I'm reviewing in this video, but the video isn't sponsored and these are my real honest thoughts about the journal. Something I'm really excited about with regards to this reading journal is its disc-bound binding system. This will be the first reading journal I've reviewed with the ability to easily change its page order, which I think is a huge advantage. So, starting with our flip through, let's dive in. Let's start with a full flip through of the entire journal to see what it comes with. Starting with the inside cover, we have a nameplate page here. You've got plenty of room there to add your contact information as well if you'd like to. The cover is a very nice kind of laminated texture. It's quite hardy. It's pretty big though, so just for size reference, let me compare it to, this is an A5 notebook, so definitely bigger than that bad boy. This is a B5 notebook, so it is around about that size, but a little bit bigger because you've got to take into account the disc-bound system. So our nameplate page here, there are some tabs down the side which makes navigation really easy, which is great. Those are not labeled, so I assume that you could do as you like with those, pop your own labels on. I don't think that they have anywhere to slide in your own label, but you could pop something over the top on a sticker. Turning over, there's just blank dot grid paper on the opposite side of that nameplate page, which is always useful. It is a huge dot grid though. Let me just give that a little measure. Really, really big. Around about 7 millimeters in between each of the dot grid spaces, so that's pretty big. We've got a pretty cover page here, the open book. Girly looking at a bookshop, that's very cute. And some more dot grid paper on the reverse side, which is good. It gives you flexibility. Of course, you can add printables and things in here as well. We have a bookshelf reading tracker over here that you can color in. If you were going to color code this to say maybe red books are ebooks, blue books are audiobooks, green books are physical books, something like that, then you could have your key over here on the facing page, which is really useful. My favorite books, how much room have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces that you could write favorite books in there. This one is like really skinny. You can't really do much there, but 9's a bit of a weird number. I think I would like to see that be 10, maybe, just because it feels rounder to me. And of course, because you've got space over here, you could pop book covers as well for your favorite books as well if you wanted to. It does seem like it's just going to be a functional page and then a dot grid page on the opposite side, and I'm so fine with that because that gives you so much more flexibility. Reading tracker, that's so pretty. The background has a floral pattern that's very moody. I really like it. I like the font too that we're using throughout here. That's really pretty. I actually have the sticker book that matches this set, and so I'm seeing a lot of the same elements from the sticker book, which is totally understandable. This is like the you don't have to DIY it version. If you want to DIY it but you want to make your life easier, go with the sticker book for sure. Space for a key here so you can put whatever information you like, color code it by coloring in the little boxes, or you can make it a pattern if you'd rather just stick to one pen for your entire journal and make life easier for yourself too. That's always useful. And we've got 2 of those, and then onto a reading log tracker. This is very similar to what I used to include in my own, not even reading journal, my bullet journal before I started a dedicated reading journal. So it's just title, author, star rating. Super easy way to log that information. We don't have a huge number of spaces here. 18 book spaces there. Of course, you can bring more of those over here. If you have the sticker book that matches with this, then you could put even the same tracker if they have it. Let me grab that and check. So here we have the Bookworm Volume 4 sticker book. Most of the trackers are fairly close to the front of the book. Date, read, book title, review is pretty similar. Okay, so not quite. We don't quite have the same tracker in the sticker book, but that's okay. This is something that you could draw out for yourself again over here on the facing page if you wanted to, especially if you have a little star rating stamp. That actually looks like it's a really similar size to this one. My star rating stamp is just a touch bigger, but would fit in that column. Okay, we've got, oh, okay, that's on the facing pages. Never mind, you don't need to do this again yourself. We've got more. So on the back again, excellent. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4 pages worth of that, and then we go into the same thing. Looks like we've got a few more here this time though, and a different background. 22 on this one versus the 18 on the previous. Good for our more voracious readers. 4 of those again, and then we've got a 100 book challenge. Look how cute this is with the little books. I've done something similar to this before as my own reading challenge tracker in my own journal, and I had to draw, I just did squares, but they're so much cuter when they're little books like this. That's really cute. So start and end date for the challenge, the total number that you get up to in that period, and you can color them in, I would assume, as you go through. That's adorable. And then we've got a 50 book challenge on the next page for the less intense readers amongst us. That's more around where I think I'll hit for this year, but because you've got the flexibility to add your own start and end dates there, it doesn't necessarily have to be a challenge that you undertake in a calendar year, which is always nice. And then we're moving into our next section here. I did just want to mention, because this is disc bound, it's actually really easy to rearrange all of these things. You just lift the page towards yourself. We have this notch in the edge of the paper here so that it's very easy to remove and place back into the book. This is my first time ever using anything disc bound, so I am still kind of like learning how it all works, but really easy. Say you didn't want to have a 50 book challenge, peel this one up from the top of the page close to the spine, and you can pop it in the back of the book. Hold on to it for safekeeping, whatever you like. So you could divide this. What I would probably do is divide it into just the pages that I want for 1 year at a time and use it over the course of more than 1 year. I think that would be really cool. So we're getting into our second divider here. They aren't marked in any way on the page itself, so if you wanted to pop your own title with a label maker or some stickers or hand letter it, cut it out on some sticker paper, stick it in there, whatever you think, you can title them, or you can just let them be flexible like this and add your title just on the tab if you want to, or not at all, just remember the colors. Book of the month, not referring here I think to the subscription box, just referring to your favorite book that you read each month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, so just enough for a full year. You can put the book cover, which is great. Oh, mine are the perfect size. What do you mean? That's fantastic. These are just some I printed out for a video ages ago that I've had on hand. So these are all books that I've read, but not books that I've read recently, but I figured I've got them, I'll use them for something, right? So when we come back through and really test the journal out, I'll stick some of those down so we can see what that page looks like once it's got book covers on. We've got more of them, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ooh, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, wowee, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, gosh, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and that's our next divider. So that's just book of the month pages there. I wonder if I'm misinterpreting this. So I thought book of the month would be a favorite book of each month because that's kind of how I operate. I like to know that information. Not something I'm tracking in my current reading journal actually, but I have before. I wonder if it actually is supposed to mean, because there's a line under here, book of the month line, if we're thinking more along the lines of, say this is January, and these are all of the books that I read in January, and you put your book covers and your star ratings for all of the books that you read in the month. Maybe that's more along the lines of what we're thinking. I do think this would be really cute with a stamped title for the month if that was how you were approaching it. Or with something really beautifully, flowingly hand-lettered could be really nice as well. I do feel if that's how you're approaching this and it's everything that you've read in the month, it feels a little redundant with all of these reading logs back here because it's kind of the same information, right? Title, author, rating. Book cover, a little bit of space for something underneath it, whether that's start and end dates or format read or something, and then the star rating. So there's a touch more room for data, but not anything too different. Interesting. Still useful though, and because of the disc-bound system, if you wanted one and not the other, you can just take out the other pages, move them to the back if you don't want to get rid of them necessarily, or put them in a display folder or something for safekeeping. Okay, I know this is the Dark Academia Book Lovers Journal number 2, so she has a few things in the All Booked Up kind of collection, the bookworm collection of things. I believe the insides are much the same, but the artwork is different from one to the other. I picked this one because of the Dark Academia elements, not expecting it to be quite so coded towards that franchise. I don't like to give attention to this author and platform, so I'm not going to say the name. She's cute. I just wish if we didn't have the scarf, I mean, the outfit's not very appropriate for the weather of the place, is it? But anyway, I did want to mention that, and also some of the stuff in here and the washi tape sets that are from this Bookworm Volume 4 collection. It's written right there, like that. I honestly don't know how they're getting away with that for copyright reasons. I don't believe this is officially licensed or anything, but there is a lot of that in here. So just know that going in. If you still enjoy this franchise, I'm not saying not to, I'm just saying that I want everyone to feel safe here on my channel. So I personally would probably cover that with stickers, but you do you boo, or you know, get a different iteration of this reading journal. The most recent one is based on Little Women, so maybe that's the go, you know? It's really cute, actually. Books to read. Who doesn't love a little spot to have your list of books that you haven't read yet but want to? I call this maybe next in my own journal because I don't like to be read, but books to read I think is a little bit more casual than to be read. It feels like a lot to me. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 spaces here. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those pages. Up to you whether you want to make it your physical TBR because you have a lot of books that you want to read in your possession, or if like me you're more of a digital reader and it's just stuff that has piqued your interest that you haven't got to yet. Possibilities. You could even do, you know, 1 page for one type and 1 page for another. I feel like I know of some people who would need a lot more pages than this to cover that. So maybe rather than a stack of these Book of the Month ones, it could be more of those, you know? Book wish list. Oh, this is actually a cool little addition here. Title, author, spaces for you to write both of those things, price and bought. It's an unusual kind of a table because it's like it goes horizontally here and then vertically here, but it does work. Like it's obvious how you're supposed to use it. I'm a big library reader, so this is not something that I think about too much. I also don't really gravitate towards paper books very much, but we do have several of these again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only space for 6 books to a page. We've got 3, 4 pages of that again. I feel like I've reviewed a few reading journals in the past where I have pointed out that Favourites was spelled with the UK standard spelling and rest of the world non-American English standard spelling. This is the first one I think I've come across that has the US spelling. So if that is something that would have bothered you in the previous, know that this one's come from the States and it has the US spelling for favourite. A little roundup of your favourites here. So favourite author, favourite book, favourite genre, favourite quote, and another favourite quote, space for 2 of those. That's pretty nice. Space for more of those. Whether you do this, depending how many there are, maybe monthly. Nope, you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, so definitely not monthly. Maybe quarterly over the course of a single year, or just once a year potentially. Favorites can change. Favorite book quotes, and you've got 4 little distressed paper spots here to put some quotes in. You could print them out if you wanted them to be really schmick. You could hand letter them. You can just scroll them in whatever kind of handwriting you have naturally. Oh, let me guess, we've got this in 4 different colors. No, we don't, we've only got 2. Okay, that makes me happy. For a second then I thought we were gonna lean into the houses, which we have kind of, but only those 2. I'm not obsessed with these artworks. Those, oh, I hate to say it, but they do look like AI to me. Those ones. More space for book quotes, so you've got, again, 4 pages for those. Look at that. No, we don't talk about Bruno, but that's our next cover. Oh, look at these other books over here. Can't we talk about those ones? The Atlas 6, The Martian, something. Anyway, just gonna turn over here. All right, we're into individual book review time. The nitty gritty. I've been looking forward to this. We have space for a book cover, which is awesome. Mine aren't gonna cut it. They're gonna need to be bigger than that. Just in case you are an HP Sprocket user, let's see what the size of the Sprocket paper is like in that gap there. Maybe a touch too big, so you want to size down a little bit. Let's measure it. Let's just see, and I will write it down so I can print 1 or 2 to go in that space. It isn't defined, there isn't kind of an edge to a box or anything here, so I'm gonna say 4 centimeters. I'm sorry, this ruler only has centimeters. Let me get one that has inches too. Here, we'll swap it for the little brass guy. So about 4 centimeters wide I think would work. Well, it's going to depend on your book cover, isn't it? Because sometimes they're different sort of aspect ratios, if you will. But I would say somewhere in the vicinity of 4 centimeters wide by 6 centimeters tall. Let me just write that down for myself. What I usually do for my book covers is that I just size the vertical to be all the same and then roll with whatever the width becomes. So I'm going to say that in order to make it somewhat line up with the top of the title section here, I'd recommend about 6 centimeters tall, which is, sorry, I'm doing the thing again, aren't I? I forget. Let's say 2.5 inches tall, and that would fit really nicely in that space. We've got space for a star rating right underneath the book cover, and then title, lots of room for title there, which is really nice to see. Sometimes you get books with long titles that don't fit in the space that reading journals give you, so it's good to see there's a lot of room there. Author, date published is a good one. I've recently started including that in my own reading journal just this year. Feels recent. This year is now like 7 months in. What do you mean? Number of pages. Format, we've got book, ebook, and audiobook, so no distinction between paperback and hardcover, just physical book, ebook, audiobook. I'm all right with that. You may not be. Up to you. You could always pop a little note above it. You could be like paperback or hardcover. Just above the space, there is a little bit of room there. Start date, finish date, recommended by. That would be an interesting one to keep track of. I get a lot of recommendations from you in the comments of my reading journal videos, so it would be kind of cool to keep track of that, I think. Book summary, there's a little 3-line section there. The space between each of the lines is really big, something to keep in mind. I guess you could add your own kind of in between if you wanted to, if you wanted more space and you have small handwriting. And then book review. I don't especially feel the need to summarize a book in my journal. I feel like Goodreads does that for me. I can go and look up a blurb if I want that information, so that's not super useful to me. I would probably just use this whole space for my book review because I usually have thoughts. We've got a space over on this side as well that could be overflow if you wanted, or if you wanted to make something very collagey to reflect the book. If you like the idea of decoration, but setting up a whole reading journal that is completely DIY'd is a bit much, then this would be kind of cool. You can do your pretty on this side, your review on this side. Let's see if they're all like that. Oh, they're not. Okay, you can only do that for one book. I'm sorry. So we've got, oh, it's continued. Okay, hold on. So this is more of the same from this book. I would love to see them be like this but reversed, you know? So this side is title, author, date published, book cover, etc. This side has these things but over here, because it's a bit strange to me. I recognize it's all one piece of paper, and if you take them out, then it's going to keep all that information together, but I don't love having the end of one review here and the beginning of another review here. That feels a bit off to me. I think of this as a spread, and I would like it to remain a spread. But we have what we have, so that's okay. The disc-bound system is great for being able to remove things, but it's not like you can, without getting whatever kind of punch you need to punch this again on the opposite side, you can't just like, I suppose you could put it in upside down and flip the journal, but that would be also kind of weird. Anyway, continuing on the review, we've got favorite moment here with a box. I don't know exactly how I'd use that space. Like if you have a favorite scene, I'm sure you could write about it, but we haven't got any lines for you to write it on. And the page number, so you got to remember where it was. You got to take a page reference. If you're doing audiobook, I guess you could write a timestamp here instead. Oh, this is quite interesting. We've got a little rating system over here. So you can rate each of these categories out of 5. You've got content from 1 to 5 with a little dot for you to fill in. Expectation to reality, same deal, 1 to 5. Characters, 1 to 5, and plot twist, 1 to 5. Not every book comes with a plot twist. Not every book needs one. I guess that would give you a rating out of 20, which I suppose you could then divide. Let me just try it. Say we've got a book that I thought, content. Content is such a broad category. Out of 5, let's say I gave it 4 out of 5 for content that I guess would be writing and plot. Expectation to reality. I quite often go into books blind with no prior knowledge, so that's a tricky one for me. Let's say 3. Characters were good, we'll give it a 4, this imaginary book. And plot twist, it had a really good plot twist. I'm gonna give it 5 for its plot twist. We've got 16 out of 20, I guess, and then we times that by 5 to get our star rating, which would be 4. So that works, but it doesn't, I prefer my rating system. Funnily enough though, we do have a space for something alternative here, and I have my own rating system stickers that I have DIY'd. So I would probably put one of my own rating stickers there and ignore this part. That's just me though. Carrying on, so we've got 1, 2, let me pick this up. 3, 4, 5, 6. 15 pages of book reviews, which is a start. I need to look into whether or not you can buy refills for these things. I'm going to assume you can. I think there are also printables. She adores pretty things and witty words. I like her outfit, and I like that she's reading something different this time. That's really cute. Okay, and this last section, is this just dot grid paper? Is this just massively spaced 7mm dot grid paper? Yeah, stacks of it at the end here for you to use as you will. We have the back cover, which I think is the same as the inside cover. Yes, it is. And that is the end of the story. So let's start from the beginning this time and actually fill in the journal and see what the experience of using it is like. I'm gonna grab my handy dandy Tombow Fudenosuke and use that to add my name to the nameplate here. I'm gonna try and match the angle of the writing and make it pretty. This book belongs to Erin. Carrying on. I'm not gonna do anything with these customizable dot grid pages because I really wanna just test how the book functions on its own. Reading tracker, let's color in a few just with the colors that I have handy on my desk. These are the ones I use for my own reading journal, and I have a couple of blues handy too, so let's go with those just to see how it looks. Also as a bit of a test of the paper, which feels pretty thick. It's like a card, oh, maybe 160 GSM-ish. I should check that. My perception was that it was a lot thicker than what I have in my own journal, but once I thought about it actively while touching the paper, not that different. So a couple of my colors there, particularly this one, was quite dark. So let's just see how the pages handled it. I can see a little bit of ghosting. So a little bit of ghosting, but no bleed through. And that is a-okay. My favorite books, oh my God, that's a hard question. I'm just gonna go with what I have in my Hall of Fame for my current reading journal, which is this one. So let's just open up to that page so I can get that information. I feel like I need a bigger pen than this. This is the 01 Pigma Micron. Got a decent amount of page space there, so I'm moving up to the 08 to give me a thicker line. Favorite books so far this year have been First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Anne of Green Gables was my first time reading it, and I'm so sad that it took me until I was 37 years old to read this charming book. Of course, the book I simply will not shut up about, Forging Silver into Stars by Brigid Camera. This one's a really big book cover, so I can afford to move up to the Tombow Fudenosuke to fill in the space. Did I say cover? I meant book spine, a really big book spine. We'll switch back to the 08. And I'm gonna put the Hedge Witch of Foxhall next. And let's just do one more. This one's a skinny spine. So maybe Seven Summers by Paige Toon. Something I am really enjoying about this page is the playing with lettering styles of it all, but that's very much a me thing. So if that's not something that you enjoy, I definitely would recommend printing these out with a thermal printer or a home printer on some sticker paper or just regular paper and gluing it in. I have not left myself room there for Paige Toon's name, but that's okay. I'm gonna color in a few of these because I feel like that's just gonna be really fun. Probably the ones that have had a chance to dry first and then come back to the others. I've hit about year 4 on some of my pens and they're starting to dry out and it's making me so sad. I don't want to replace them. They've done so well until now. Of course, you could leave these empty and just add text. I think it still looked really cool like that, but I wanted to add some color. I just realized I've colored in the pages of that one green as well. I guess that's a special edition with sprayed edges, who knows? So let's commit and do the same to Seven Summers, which has smeared a little bit because I didn't give it as much time to dry, but that's okay, here we are. Favorite books, carrying on. Once again, a little bit of ghosting, but not too bad. Honestly, there's ghosting already from the print on the page, so it's nothing to be too worried about. The reading tracker, this is an interesting one. I really don't care about keeping track of reading every day. I do read most days, so I feel like I don't really need to log it. I don't like to log how many pages I read per day or how much time. So I'm actually not going to fill this one in. I'm just going to carry on forward to our reading log tracker. I'm going to fill this out with my own, let's go with June reading stats. Actually, I'm just going to pick a spot in my tracker in my own journal and jump in from there so that we can fill most of this page, just fit the title in the space. I don't actually have my star ratings on the page where I keep this information in my own journal, so I'll come back and fill those out once I have added all the title and author information first. Ran out of room for my title there, and I did try to condense a little bit, but that's okay, we'll roll with it. I made it work. Isn't it funny, if you like to read sort of fantasy influenced things, you've got titles like A Heart So Fierce and Broken and The Hedge Witch of Foxhole and The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, but if you like to read contemporary romance most of all, you've got titles like Book Lovers, 2 words, you know, 7 Summers, 2 words. Except for that one, Emily Henry, Great Big Beautiful Life. That's a bit wordier. Okay, let me get my star ratings for these. As always, for some reason, I find colouring in the star ratings in a journal like this really fiddly. If you want to try and make it really fit the space, you do have to be quite careful. I tend to just draw a star over the top and then colour in from there. I guess the lines on my star rating stamp are thicker, so it's easier to stay within them. These ones are fairly thin. It's funny, that's a gripe that I have across the board with all of the reading journals I've tried so far. It's getting easier as I go on though. Practice is helping a lot. I've been on a really good reading kick lately where I've really enjoyed a lot of what I've been reading, so pretty high star ratings across the board here. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. I do enjoy how organized this page is. It is definitely making my brain feel calm to look at, which is nice. We've got several more of those, but we get how it works now. So let's just carry on. Let's try the book challenge, and I'm just going to fill in based on my own reading tracker in my own journal, which is a bookshelf tracker over here, and just color in the same number of books per month in a different color so that I can kind of keep track of that. I'm not going to match the colors to these ones, just going to color it in for where we're up to so far this year. Do I color in the pages as well? Nah, just the rectangle that is the front cover of the book. I actually kind of like that with just the spine coloured in. I was just doing that so I knew how many to fully cover, but I think that looks kind of cute. Alright, cute little challenge tracker. That's actually very fun. I like it. Of course, you can do this just in one colour if you prefer. Little bit of bleed through over here on these book covers right here, but nothing to be too concerned about. Let's move on. Book of the month. Okay, I want to use some of my little book covers here, so let's just use up the loose ones first. Fill up a page and see how we look. And I did go ahead and print a little month name here for June to sit right there. Tried to make it kind of feel like it would work with the theme, going for this kind of deep reddish burgundy color from the outside here. Gonna go book cover. I would probably use the section underneath for a format, I think. Probably should have put my book covers down first and then my June heading. Is this an opportunity to see how well things will peel up off this paper? Ooh, not too bad, honestly. Actually, I'm going to take the whole sticker off. Nothing tore by the feel of it, so that's very good. I'll put all of my book covers down first, and then I'll pop this back in somewhere it's not going to be too much of an interference. Maybe above, actually. Maybe I'll pop it up the top. And because this is not actually my journal, I have the ability to distribute my blues and things to make the page look nice and balanced. Probably not something that you would get the opportunity to do if you were using it in real time, but I have the advantage, so I'm gonna take it. Wow, I seem to have a lot of blue covers and green covers going on. Okay, and then our June header. Yeah, I'll pop it up here. I would like it to go here. I'd have to make it a touch smaller than I did. It's been a while since I actually read most of these books, so I am going to make up this information as I go along. I'm going to use the 01 Pigma Micron to write the format underneath each book on the line. There are 2 line spaces there. I've positioned my book covers on the top line, but you could move them up so that they kind of hit this top line here and give you that writing space if you wanted. And I'm going to use the 08 Pigma Micron to color in the star ratings. I like how that looks. I think that's really fun. Shall we do one more? And rather than adding the title of the month above with a sticker, this time I thought I might try hand lettering it. Also, we can flip the book under itself because of the disc bound system, so that is very nice. And I'm going to position them right at the top on the line this time. I thought that would give me more space for writing underneath, but it hasn't really, so I guess my book covers are just a little touch too big. It definitely worked better underneath here, so I guess I didn't place these ones quite high enough, maybe? Is that what's going on? Who knows? At the time I made these book covers over a year ago, they were very accurate to what I had been reading recently. It has been some time since I read any of these. So if you do want my actual accurate ratings for these ones, you can either go back and check out my reading journal videos from late 2023 into early 2024, or you can just check them on my story graph because that'll tell you. I put the previous one as June, even though those are not books that I read in the recent June, so let's do July over here. Yeah, it's still a pretty tight fit. I really don't know what is going on here. I don't know what it's all about, if this is supposed to be used over multiple years or if it is just the books that you read in that month, but please interpret as you wish if you do get this reading journal for yourself. I'm going to head on forward to our next section because that whole section is just book of the month. I think these could also be used for a book club if you're in one that does a monthly read, like my Page Majors book club. Quick plug, because we don't have any other kind of book club system set up in here. We also don't really have anywhere for stats, do we? That's something you'd have to add yourself at the back, which makes me a little sad. Just going to take my books to read information directly from my own maybe next. Okay, got a start and finish date there for those in case you did actually jump in and read anything from your books to be read list. Over here we have the book wish list. I'm actually just gonna leave that part because I don't really engage with that kind of thing. My favorites, oh, look, it's so hard to say. I struggled enough to come up with like the ones for that book stack image back here. So I think I'm gonna skip that one too, but you can envision how maybe you would use this for yourself, I'm sure. Favorite book quotes. Let me just pull one from a page that I've read recently. This one's from A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. Haven't really left myself any room there for the title of the book or anything, but you could pop a little book cover. I think would be cute. This is not the book that it's from, but you know, something like that. Let's carry on to the book review. Now I have gone ahead and printed some book covers appropriately sized here. Let's do, which one do I want to do? I feel like the Hedge Witch of Foxhole looks the nicest with the page, so I'm going to pop her in here. I have strategically sized the book cover to the 6 centimeters tall that I mentioned earlier, and it fits very nicely there. This again looks really organized. That makes me happy. Just going to do this because that's actually really nice. I don't often love a spiral bound. I've never used disc bound before, but it's getting in my way less than I expected. Since we haven't yet, even though the color this pen is inked with doesn't really match at all, shall we try a fountain pen and see how this goes? The fountain pen seems to be holding up really nicely, actually. Oh, I didn't grab the cover properly. Okay, over here, I don't love this as a general thing. Like, I don't feel like we need favorite quotes and a space up here necessarily, although because I don't like their system, I'm actually going to substitute with my own book rating sticker over here. These ones are for my Peach rating system, which I have a video about in case you're interested in learning more. Just gonna fill this out with exactly what my scores were. I didn't fill that out on the previous page because I couldn't remember what it was and I had my phone covering it in my journal. 4.5 stars. I'm going back to the Tombow Fudenosuke to fill that in because it'll take forever with this little fine nib fountain pen. I think it functions well, and of course, you have some flexibility with these sections. Like, you could whack something else over the top of favorite quotes there and make it something different. You could add just the stickers that remind you of the book that you have in your collection if you wanted to do a small collaging moment here. I really feel like I only need the front page here. I don't feel like the back page is serving me overly well. And if you didn't want to include a book cover but you were doing something like my Peach rating system, then you could just whack that sticker in the book cover space instead. And the back section is just dot grid spaces, right? So this is where I would have to come in from 1 month to the next. Of course, not necessarily here. You could move this so that you keep your months together if you wanted, but this is where I'd be doing my reading stats for each month. I really enjoy having that in my journal, and I do think it's a little sad that this journal doesn't offer that kind of at all. But besides that, it's definitely easy to use. I like the flexibility of the disc-bound system, being able to rearrange things as you like. I think if you want to keep using one reading journal forever and just keep switching out the pages inside, this would be a really good way to do that. I like to rate reading journals in a similar way to how I rate books, so I'm giving Rongrong's reading journal a score out of 5 across these 4 categories: cover, internal aesthetic, practicality and function, and enjoyment. I'll use those scores to determine our final star rating out of 5. Starting with the cover, I really like that it's durable and I think it's a nice cover, but I have reviewed reading journals previously that had covers I think are prettier, so I'm giving it 3.5 stars. If you don't vibe with the dark academia aesthetic, Rongrong does have the journal available in the Bookworm Volume 5 version, which has this cozy cover and is part of her collection inspired by Little Women, as well as the original version that has a more light academia aesthetic. I actually really like the internal aesthetic of Rongrong's reading journals. They're beautiful without compromising functionality, which means if you have little to no desire to decorate the pages yourself, you absolutely do not need to with this journal. I'm taking a star off for 2 reasons. First, for referencing the franchise that shall not be named without making it obvious that that's in there in the product listing, and also for slightly dubious intellectual property usage, but that's not a problem with her other reading journal variants since Little Women is in the public domain, so your mileage may vary. 4 stars for internal aesthetic. I'm also awarding this reading journal 4 stars for practicality and function. The disc-bound system is ideal for arranging your journal as you like and still having the option to expand or rearrange later. And I think the journal provides great functionality. Its lack of built-in stats pages is a little disappointing, and from what I can tell, they do sell printable versions of these journals if you were willing to attempt to DIY your own extra pages to expand the journal, but if you didn't want to deal with correctly sizing and self-mushroom punching the pages to work with the disc-bound system, you'd have to buy a whole second journal to get those extra pages. I guess you could mix and match between the 3 styles though. And lastly, enjoyment. I actually really liked using this journal. It's very approachable, it's cute all the way through, and it offers plenty of space for the things that it allows you to track, plus plenty of room to add your own extra functionality with the dot grid spaces, although I'm not obsessed with the size of the space between the dot grids. That's kind of me being really picky though. I think it would be an incredible first reading journal, and I think it would be really great for anyone who doesn't want to decorate at all. And I think it has the potential to be a reading journal you could use for years if you were willing to keep adding your own pages or repurchasing it to harvest pages to keep it going. I'm giving it 4 stars for enjoyment. That brings us to a total score of 15.5 out of 20, which gives us a rating of 3.875, which I'll very happily round up to 4 stars. However, this reading journal appears to be quite reasonably priced at $35.99 US, although the free shipping threshold on Shop Rongrong only starts from $100, and shipping can really ramp up the cost if you aren't bundling it with other options. This is actually a big gripe that I have with the site. So there's a banner at the top that says free shipping on orders over $100. When you click on that, nothing happens, it just takes you to the shopping page. And right down the bottom in the website footer, there is a shipping policy link, but the only information on that page is that orders usually ship within 3 to 5 business days, days, and you can contact them on an email address if you have questions. There's nothing about international shipping policies, but I have a feeling the free shipping policy is only for the US, because when I added over $100 worth of product to my cart, it wanted to charge me $100 to ship it to me. And if it was just the journal and not reaching that shipping threshold, it still wanted to charge me another $50 to ship it to me. So definitely check what shipping would be to you before you commit, because that can get expensive. I'd love to know what you think of this reading journal. Could you see it fitting into your own reading journaling workflow? Do you think it would be a good fit for you? If you already have this journal or you've used it in the past, I'd really love to know your thoughts too. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. If you don't feel that this journal is quite the right fit for you, here is a link to my reading journal review playlist so you can continue the hunt, and below that is a link to a video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy.